Greetings, West Wilmington. I'm Roger Harrison, and I'd like to welcome with us today Gyan, Paulina. Paulina is the Delaware Division of Public Health's Early Childhood Comprehensive Systems Program Administrator, and she's also has a wide range of experience previously working for the Delaware Commission Against Domestic Violence. You might not be aware, but October, in addition to being Breast Cancer Awareness Month, is also Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And so Paulina was very kind to stop by so that we can talk together about domestic violence. So welcome, Paulina. It's good to have you.
Thank you. Thank you, Roger, for inviting me to speak on this topic.
Great. And so as we jump in, will you just talk to us a little bit about how the job that you have right now ties into this topic of domestic violence? And then let's just talk a few things about domestic violence.
Sure. So as you mentioned, I am the Early Childhood Comprehensive Systems Program person at the Division of Public Health, and that is under the Maternal Child Health Bureau. And so, of course, maternal child health. So I work with women and children with families birth through 8 years. And so anything that happens within the household affects, maternal child health. And so when it comes to domestic violence or intimate partner violence, you look at the relationship between what happens in the home and how it impacts the child.
Hey, thank you so much. Now, let's just jump into this for the purpose of those in the audience. Like, how would we even define domestic violence? I also heard you use the words intimate partner violence.
Yes. Intimate partner violence is more like the term to use as opposed to, domestic violence. And so when you're talking about intimate partner violence, it's a pattern of abuse. And I always stress on the word pattern. It's not like a one-time thing. It's a pattern of abusive behavior in a relationship. And so what happens is that one partner tries to maintain control, power and control over the other by using, let's say, physical, psychological, verbal, or sexual violence. And I think most of the time for us, what really stands out or we see often is the physical aspect of it, like the hitting, the slapping, the shoving, the pushing, that kind of, type of abuse is what we tend to see because it's outward. But there are also the emotional and psychological as well as economic, aspects of it. It also involves sexual violence. And so it's a wide range, criticism of the person so that the person loses, in terms of their confidence, self-confidence and self-esteem. All that is part of the abuse that is used. So that is the definition. So it's a pattern of abusive behavior in a relationship.
Hey, thank you. And just to give us an understanding of, the context and the scope, can you share with us some information about who is affected by domestic violence? What do we know?
So domestic violence is no respecter of people. It doesn't matter your class, the manner of person you are, whether you're educated, uneducated, rich, poor, pastor, judge, dating relationships, marriages, Christian, elder in the church. It's all across the board.
So what you're saying is that there is really no role or status or gender that necessarily protects people from domestic violence.
Exactly, yeah, because it's human behavior, right? It's human behavior. It's just one person who wants to take control and have power over the other. If you find yourself in that kind of situation as a person or a victim, as you would normally label it, as a victim of domestic violence, I would say reach out to somebody you can trust. If there's someone who is trustworthy, because this is such a private and confidential, situation that you're in. And so you'll need somebody that you can trust will keep this in confidence and will be supportive of you, because that's another problem. If you don't have someone who is supportive of you, then it becomes another challenge. So there are lots of resources out there. You just call, I know we'll get to that, but you just call there's a hotline, domestic violence hotline that you can call, and you can get assistance through that.
Wow. Well, I mean, let's go there. So let's say I'm local. Let's say I live in the area, and I imagine that this could be such a heart-wrenching decision for someone to make that says, I need to leave this situation because I'm harmed, or my children are being harmed, or they seeing me being harmed.
Right.
You know, talking to a trusted person like your primary care provider, or maybe like
Absolutely.
pastor. What are some
Yes.
other resources out there in the community that a woman can, or anyone for that matter, who's victim of domestic violence or intimate partner violence could
Mhm.
access? What are some resources that you could share?
So we have the hotline, domestic violence hotline. Here in Delaware, we have three different, because we have three different counties. Unfortunately, we don't have a single, number for the hotline. And so, for instance, it's a 24-hour, 7-day, hotline. And so you can call the hotline. You have, trained folks on the phone who can actually listen to you, listen, active listening, and figuring out whether you need to be, protected. If you feel like you're in danger, they will ensure that, they put you in a shelter, because we have, safe houses where victims of domestic violence can stay for an extended period of time as they try to get back, into the role and get things back to normal.
Okay, thank you so much.
Welcome.
I appreciate you taking the time to share these contributions and sharing your wisdom, and just to encourage people who might find themselves in a situation to act prayerfully, but act. And then
Yes.
there's help, and that there are resources out there. And so if you're on the elevator for 2 floors and you like leave a message before you got off that elevator for someone who's experiencing domestic violence, and you've got 2 floors, what would be that takeaway message before you got off or they stepped off that elevator?
Well, I'd say domestic violence is wrong. You don't deserve to be abused. And then what I will say for us as Christians and as, church members is to be supportive of, victims of abuse, and also take a stand so that congregations or victims will feel like the church is a safe place for them to come. So there are ways in which we can do that. I know we don't have time to share that, but there are ways in which as a church we can send that message to victims of domestic violence that this is a safe space that I can go to, and I know I'll be supported. I'll get somebody who can help me to be able to overcome this. This too shall pass.
Okay. Thank you so much, Paulina Jan. Thank you for
Welcome.
joining us. Thank you for sharing of your wealth of knowledge in this subject area.